I hereby place the United States ship George H.W. Bush in commission. May God bless and guide this warship and all who shall sail in her.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Secretary Winter. Executive Officer, hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant.
Aye, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the mast as we hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant. Quartermaster, hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant.
Hoist the colors and commissioning pennant. Aye, aye, sir.
I don't see it all. Can't see it from here.
Captain, the colors and commissioning pennant are flying over your ship.
Very well. Admiral Ruffett, United States ship George H.W. Bush is in commission, and I assume command.
Very well, Captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Gary Ruffett.
President Bush, Secretary Gates, ladies and gentlemen, and especially the sailors of the United States ship George H.W. Bush. Today is a day of incredible work achieved and incredible work to be done. This nuclear aircraft carrier, a piece of sovereign American territory, a floating, movable American base, could only have been built here by the thousands of men and women who are American shipbuilders and who are without peer. The hard work and the ingenuity of the shipbuilder, the engineer, and the scientist towers above us today. However, while this day is a culmination for some, it is just the beginning for our sailors who will serve in George H.W. Bush. Captain O'Flaherty, to take command of this ship is to take on an awesome responsibility to the nation and to our future. The standard that you set will last a very long time when you consider that the last commanding officer of George H.W. Bush has not yet been born. This great warship will be a part of the next 50 years of American history, in peace and in war. None of us can predict what the next 50 years will hold, and few would have expected when we commissioned the USS Kitty Hawk decades ago, the aircraft carrier that this ship replaces, that it would go from donating 300,000 gallons of water to drought-stricken Hong Kong, to launching carrier airstrikes into Southeast Asia, to participating in a contingency operation during the Iranian hostage crisis, and to striking ashore in 2 wars in the Middle East. Recently, we have seen our carriers strike targets ashore, and similarly, they have served as staging bases for the largest humanitarian relief operation ever undertaken, the tsunami of 2004. And while we do not know exactly what the future holds, we can be sure that USS George H.W. Bush will provide commanders-in-chief for the next 5 decades with options, options to respond in ways that no other nation can. So, Captain O'Flaherty, to the sailors of this ship, today you bring life to this extraordinary ship. Your skills and your enthusiasm, your courage, and your determination will lead this ship to greatness. Set the bar very high so that everyone is always reaching for it. Your ship's namesake and the nation expect nothing less. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Admiral Ruffhead, for your remarks and your leadership. Ship's company, out and hut! I will now read my orders. From Chief of Naval Personnel to Captain Kevin O'Flaherty, United States Navy. Subject, Bureau of Personnel Orders number 3538, 18 December 2008. Upon commissioning of United States ship George HW Bush, CVN-77, report for duty as commanding officer. Signed, E. Masso, Rear Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, Navy Personnel Command. Ship's company, pup raid, rest. Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, our namesake was the 41st President of the United States. Less well remembered, however, is his incredible journey to that office. Not long after Pearl Harbor, he elected to postpone college, and then 3 days before his 19th birthday, became the 19th, the youngest naval aviator in United States history. He served in Torpedo Squadron 51 and USS San Jacinto during World War II in the Battle of the Philippine Sea, one of the Pacific Campaign's largest air battles. During a later mission in September 1944, against Japanese shore installations, his plane was hit by anti-aircraft fire. Despite damage, he completed his attack, then flew several miles out to sea before bailing out. Rescued by the submarine USS Finback, he later returned to San Jacinto and participated in further combat operations until his squadron was rotated home. Having completed 58 combat missions, earning the Distinguished Flying Cross and 3 Air Medals, he remained serving until the end of the war. He then entered Yale University, graduating a short 2.5 years later in 1948, having captained Yale University's baseball team and playing in the first 2 College World Series. Entering business upon his return to Texas, he later served as a member of the House of Representatives, as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, as Director of Central Intelligence, and as Ronald Reagan's Vice President. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and privilege to introduce the Honorable George Herbert Walker Bush.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, all the distinguished guests here. I want to single out Captain O'Flaherty, what a great man he is and how lucky we are to be in command of this ship. If you'll forgive an old Navy man a little reminiscing, being here in this ceremony takes me back 65 years to another commissioning. This one on the shipyards of Philadelphia for the USS San Jacinto, the light carrier upon which my crewmates, for very few of whom are with us today, and I were preparing to serve in World War II. Speaking of many of them being with us, I feel like Phyllis Diller when she said, "All my friends are dying in alphabetical order," but I'm glad to be here. And a few memories of that distant day, December 15th, 1943, stand out. First and foremost, it was during that trip to Philadelphia that I gave my fiancée, a certain Barbara Pierce of Rye, New York, an engagement ring. She'd come down for the ceremony with my mother, and we had only just that week made our engagement public. Brian, I thought we'd done a pretty good job of keeping our romance a secret,
But by that point in our courtship, it was possible that the Germans and the Japanese were the only people who didn't know we were planning to get married. The other memory